Larry, just with Washington coming in here, I'm just curious your early thoughts on Isaiah Stewart, just the player that he's been for them, and just what he brings to the table and the challenge that he brings to your team.
Yeah, no, he's a stud. He's certainly one of the best bigs in our conference. I was watching the Oregon game on TV a little bit Saturday afternoon, and we saw Oregon in our building to know that they're not slight in stature, and he made a few of those guys look small. So he's an absolute beast, and we've got to have a few different plans and fight and scrap and do our best to keep the ball out of there. He's an elite shot blocker as well on the defensive end, and I think when you think about Washington, it's that zone that they play. They lead our conference in field goal percentage defense, both from 2 and from 3, and they make things difficult for you. So we've got to be dialed in with that. But I think Stewart's certainly the head of their snake.
We talked about this earlier this year about the Pac-12 being improved and pretty tough from top to bottom. And Washington, for example, has lost more games than they've lost all of last year in league, yet they're still a pretty good team. Can you just talk about the overall strength of the conference and how hard it is?
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Mike. I just watched the Stanford game and the Oregon game, and they were, had double-digit leads fairly late in those games in both of them and lost them. So it's a fine line. I think about that example there. Stanford's playing really well. I think there's 4 teams in the top 20 when it comes to the net rankings, if I'm not mistaken. So, there's a lot of good players, a lot of different styles, I think, of teams. This being an example of a defensive team that's, completely a zone defense and an elite rebounding team. But top to bottom, Washington State got a couple great wins last weekend. There's been some incredible comebacks where you have Stanford up against USC by 20 at halftime and ends up losing in overtime. So the message that we have right now, instead of maybe being confused and cloudy with anything, is it's really about the next point and it's about the next game. And you got to stay in some of these games with some of those comebacks that are taking place. And if you have a lead, it's about the next point. I think there's been enough crazy finishes, and you go back in those close games, say which one of those plays or which 2 of those plays would we like to have back. There's just not an opportunity to put your guard down at any point. We've got to find that edge a little bit, to us. And it's not the first time we've lost 4 league games in a row. And so I'm confident we can bounce back with the right mindset and a few good days of practice and getting back to playing Utah basketball, which I think is playing harder than we have played over the course of the last couple of weeks, and certainly playing much more together and relying on each other and trusting each other.
In planning for Stewart, when you have a bit of a smaller lineup out there where you have Riley sliding to the 5 and Mickey at the 4, do you like that look where it's a little smaller but it's maybe a little more athletic, a little more versatile on defense?
Well, there's matchups in games. I can't say I like it. There's times that it makes the most sense for us, and production-wise, that's been one of our more efficient lineups, both offensively and defensively, when you look at numbers on a per-possession basis. So, I think the quandary with that lineup is making sure you can rebound. And with Washington's elite rebounding ability, that puts some pressure on you. So I like it a lot if we can rebound. You don't like it very much if you can't. I thought that happened against Oregon in the game that we lost here at our place. We went small and we couldn't get defensive rebounds, and then you don't like it very much. So I do like some versatility with our lineup, but we've just, I'm putting some onus on individual guys to step up. Let's make some plays, and we'll sort out which 5 need to be out there and what maybe makes the most sense at that time.
This Washington team started the season as kind of one thing with Quad A Green. Now, he's out, and they seem to have kind of circled the wagons here without Quad A Green pretty quickly. Would you agree with that they've kind of gotten themselves together despite him being out?
Well, Mike's Hopkins, he's a great coach. He's a great guy. I know he'll get them together, and, things happen, whether they're academic issues, injury issues. And, my sense is from watching them that their culture is really strong and they believe in each other, and they're going to put 5 guys on the floor and play to their strengths. And, maybe took a little bit of an adjustment. That's kind of a a body blow when you're trying to sort that out. But there's no question in the games that I've watched as of late that they've found a new identity maybe without that facet and are playing good basketball.
The last 5 games or so, Timmy's struggled with his scoring and shooting. I just wonder if that's mostly a case of the opponents kind of figuring his game out and able to shut him down with double teams and so forth. And then also just talk about how much pressure that puts on the rest of your team when your leading scorer is not scoring.
Yeah, no, I think it's important that we get back to what got us to this point, and we played through the preseason. What were we, 9-3 in the preseason, and Timmy led us in scoring, but there wasn't a lot of thought about him leading us in scoring. It kind of happened organically, and percentage-wise, there was an awful lot of scoring around the rim. There was a high free throw volume. He was doing a nice job, and then when you look at his potential assists, not always just assists, but when he makes the play to somebody over the course of the year, when he makes a pass to somebody, we score 50% of the time. Our field goal average is 50%, and that includes threes. And so that would rank us 5th in the country. And I think it's important to kind of get back to where we started this thing. It's not about X number of touches or calling anybody's play. It's trusting each other. And, I saw it in the Arizona State game. I saw Timmy made 3 really good passes early in the game, and we missed those shots. Riley missed a 3. Elfonzo missed a 3, and Jackson Brenchley missed a 3. They're still the right play to make. And it's important for us that we keep playing the right way. Chris Jones has kind of introduced something to our pro. He said it to me and Rylan, and we talk about it, is you make the play that the game presents. And you hear the Lakers talking about no force offense. And I think it's important that we get back to that and understand that Timmy's one of the guys that can get a lot of guys shots. And that's important. And I think, through some discussions and some film, that's something that we focused on right now. And the other guys need to step up and make plays. We need to do it collectively. We have some kind of Jingle Bells tune here. It's your phone. Oh, Mike, that's a fine. That's a soft little tune, too. How does that get your attention? Like a lullaby. That's a lullaby.
It's been a while since you guys have played a home game. Do you get the sense that the kids are looking forward to playing at home in front of your fans?
Well, I am. That's why you kind of sign up for this. It's always good to be in your own environment and comfortable. And fans, I think we have a great fan base, and it's important to come out. But there's nothing magical about showing up to the Huntsman Center in this conference. And the game, I've watched some games throughout the league that you've got to make your own energy and you've got to make some plays. But it certainly is going to be a heck of a lot better than going to Colorado or going to Arizona. I know that, or even the Arizona State game where it's a road environment. It's an uncomfortable environment, and you've got to be significantly better to overcome some of the mistakes and the plays and the different things. And, I think from a mental point of view, anybody would rather play at home.
Elfonzo has gotten a longer look these last 2 games. What is he maybe doing now that he wasn't doing previously that you're more comfortable putting him out there for an extended period of time?
Well, I mean, he stretches the floor. He does a nice job when he takes open shots. I'll put my money on him to knock him down. I think he's figuring out some defensive concepts. I've come to the realization that he's a better game player than he is a practice player. And, sometimes trust and different things like that and gaining a positivity about a player, you need to earn some of that in a practice. But I love the way that he stayed in the fight. Some games that he hasn't played in, he's very much stayed on board with everything we're doing. He's a good teammate, and he wants to do the right thing. And so when I see him standing up for a lot of those things that are positive, and we haven't been knocking down shots, need to get our backcourt firing on more cylinders, and he stepped up and hit big buckets in both of those games at Arizona. So I've garnered some faith in him, and he keeps grinding.
You know, in the NBA, they'll after games, officials will talk about maybe bad calls and stuff, and not to get a big controversy here, but I just wonder if there's any feedback on you weren't happy with that call on Van Coleman, and if maybe if the league could explain it to you, or if you could talk about it, or if it's just nothing ever happens on it.
Well, no, I think it's coming out here in a little while, right? That I've been reprimanded by our conference for negative comments after the game. The game's full of mistakes. You know, we don't need to have us walk out of here in an hour and then you read something. So just based on the timing of that meeting, the mistake I made was talking negatively about officiating after the game, and that's a mistake, and I'm ready to move on. You know, I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff. I've said it before, Mike, that the game is full of mistakes. Players make them, refs make them, coaches make them. I was trying to stand up for one of our players in a situation that I thought could have been let go, but that's a decision that they make, and we'll move on. Lesson learned.
Come out and say we might have goofed up on a call, like the NBA does that. I don't guess the Pac-12 doesn't. If that ever happened.
Not that I'm aware of. No. Okay. Thank you.